Welcome back to the Daughters of the Moon podcast. We're grateful that you can join us for another week.
They certainly are.
And today we have a special guest, Deb Goetz. Did I say that right?
Deb Gatz.
Gatz, thank you. She is a mystic, medical, intuitive, spiritual counselor and educator who is devoted to the study and realization of human spiritual potential. Deb embraces the philosophy that we can do what the masters did, and when we stop the monotonous searching for everything outside of ourselves, we can truly embrace the masters that reside within each of us. So welcome, Deb. We're really excited that you can join us on our podcast today.
Thank you so much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here and to connect with your audience. Thanks again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so can you tell us a little bit about your story of how you got to where you're at now?
Sure, I'd love to. So I was, even from being a very young child, I was always a seeker. I always wanted to know who God was and who I was in relationship to that being of light or whatever I perceived it to be at the time. And I was also very empathic as a child. So that led me to a lot of study in my 20s, 30s, searching, looking at different religions, reading the Bible, going, like I said, visiting different religions to try to find out what was my truth, right? So I was reading an ancient text in my 30s, I think it was, and I read, the masters said whatever they did that we could do, and that struck me so deep, like a gong in my soul. And I said, okay, I want to love people like you do. I want to heal people like you do. And it put me on this path. It was not too long after that I was introduced to Reiki. I had a spiritual awakening in the late 1980s with the harmonic convergence. And I started thinking differently, feeling differently, and seeking even deeper. And so I started with Reiki, and I just was doing that for friends, and, and then it wasn't until 2014, because in that searching, and even with the Reiki, I wanted to know more about healing. I wanted to be very effective. I really wanted what the master said we could do. I followed Jesus at the time, and he's still my greatest teacher. Because why? To me, he's the master of love. He was the great example. He was the way shower, but he was also the greatest healer I think the earth has ever seen, or that I have ever seen. So I said, show me how to heal like you did. And in 2014, I'll tell you a quick story. I was home alone one night reading a book, and I'd never experienced anything like this before, but I felt an impulse to pray for my friend who was out of town. I heard the word intercession, so I knew that meant prayer. So I laid my book down and started praying for their safe return home, things like that. And all of a sudden, in my mind's eye, I saw 3 vertebrae in the middle of their back that were out of alignment, and there was a bulging disc. So I thought, oh, creative mind. And so I just started, putting it back together, thinking, well, I must have been shown it for a reason. Well, while doing that, over in the corner of my room, we had vaulted ceilings. This 10-foot golden angel appeared, and she slowly came over to me. I saw her in my mind's eye, but I felt her presence so strongly. And she came over slowly to me and embodied me. And together we finished repairing my friend's spine. Wow. And today her spine is perfectly healthy, no pain, no bulging discs.
Wow.
Beautiful.
So after that, I thought, well, I had this healer friend in New York. So I called her and I told her what happened. And I said, do you think I'm a medical intuitive? Because I really was interested in medical intuition. And she laughed at me and she said, well, of course you are. And it's like, okay, that's all I needed to hear. So I thought, well, I'll just call my friends, see if they have any back problems or hip pain or anything skeletal, just to see if this was real. So my friends would come over and I would work on them, and their pain was going away. Their spines were getting realigned. And I thought, okay, I'm onto something. So it wasn't too long after that I quit my position I had a business as an interior designer. I closed it, and started doing this full time. And so in the beginning, it was just, we worked with, I say we, because it's me, the guides, the masters. I work with angels, I work with Jeshua, the mothers, Mary, the Magdalene, Kuan Yin, and whoever else shows up. And together I started doing these sessions. And at first it was just the skeletal system. Then I was shown anatomy and physiology. I started working with cerebral spinal fluid and the brain. And then I was shown where all the organs and glands were and the importance and how it all works together. And I was shown things like a precancerous condition in a bladder and all kinds of things. And so that was, a long time ago, 2014 to today. And my work has just expanded in something so beautiful. And the guides say there's nothing that cannot be healed. And that's always my goal when I start a session with someone, is to see their energetic body in perfection.
That's
so
nice.
It's beautiful work. And then okay, here's another cool thing. A couple years later, I was talking to the golden angel that embodied me, right? And I said, is it, because I knew in the Old Testament, the Bible, that there were some people that could transfer their frequency to another, to give them like their mantle of their position. So I asked the golden angel, I said, can we transfer your frequency from me to other people? And I got crickets for a couple of years. But then it was 3 years ago that I finally got a yes. So I developed what's called the Medical Intuitive Mentoring Program. And now I train others to do the exact work that I do. There's 18 proprietary techniques that the guides have given me that nobody else does. So now I get to teach others and they get to heal because it's so sorely needed. Right?
That's beautiful. That is really neat. That's a cool story.
Yes,
I love that. And I think it's interesting how you convey with the Bible and your beliefs in that, and you, I don't know how to say it, convert it almost so that it relates to anybody else that maybe that isn't their path of believing in the Bible, right? Because I think, in my opinion, the Bible was written and there is so much of it in there that maybe has been misconstrued, or we have not given, taken a look at where it is, what you've given me can be shared out to others,
Yes.
right? What I do, you can do. And, it's a different way of thinking of it. And I really enjoy that, the way you said that.
Yeah, and making it real for us today too is very important.
Yeah, bringing it into the 20th century, right? So this is a good thing.
It's a really good thing. Yes, it is.
And I love that story, because I think, we have so much power within ourselves to heal ourselves. And so for someone else, with the Reiki, because we both Reiki masters, to bring that forward with the medical intuition as well.
Yeah. Anything, I think anything you can put with it, like, when we do Reiki, we use crystals, sometimes you use essential oils, you do whatever it is, it's gonna help that healing along, right? Whatever your guides say, use that, you just do, right? The guides tell you you need this to help heal that person.
Repeat the last few sentences you each said about the Bible and whatever you just said.
Oh, you're just saying, Jimmy was just saying how it's a really nice connection you have with the Bible. And we both believe that, well, you probably do spiritually. We believe in all kinds of, anything that comes to us, we take it, we use it, and we work with it, right? It's because it's all a gift, right? And
well, the key to thank you. And the key to working with anything that appears is always to stay in the light. I want to be very clear about that anything that comes through is always of the light, because I set that intention for my work years ago. Yeah. So I get angels, I get galactics, I get the saints and the apostles, even Apostle Peter comes through sometimes.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I can always feel and know that, okay, we're in the light and that's where we stay.
Very nice.
That is very nice.
Nice to hear from that side.
It
That you're
is.
talking about, yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. Anyway, we got what we're talking about. Oh, yes. Let us know about your ascension that you're going through right now. What you're going through, just tell us about that.
About the ascension process for not only myself, but everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The ascension process to me is a shift in our consciousness, which then also affects our hearts. So it's an opening up. It's definitely a process because we have our human self and we have our divine self within, right? And so I liken it to almost like the journey of the soul, as some call it, like the hero's journey. In other words, we attempt to, up until now, we have attempted to know ourselves through a lifetime or adventure of disappointment, struggle, betrayal, and loss. And through that, our character is tested. Yet through the testing, if we're open and aware, we gain strength of character, right? And so we try to learn our lessons through that adventure. But another part of the hero's journey then is we can become very disillusioned, right? And disappointed. But when we finally return home, when we turn our eyes inward, we realize that there's nothing out there in the corrupt world as we see it sometimes. There's nothing out there that can help us, heal us, or save us from the peril or from ourselves. So we come to realize that the heroes of our lives are and the answers, the savior, the Messiah lies within. That's it. Basically, it's all being boiled down into know thyself.
Yeah.
And so that hero's journey brings us to an authenticity within ourselves. It's being truly honest with ourselves, but also maybe reviewing the files of our lives that we've lived up until now and going through those files one by one. This is what I was taught over here. Is it my truth now? This is what my morals were given. These morals over here were given to me. Are they still my morals? See, we're going through those old files and defining, is it true for me anymore? What do I believe? How can I be more real with myself? Because there's no other way to live with those eyes turned outward. We have to turn the eyes inward, because to get to ascension, to get to the sovereignty, to get to mastery that we're always talking about, we got to come in here first and get authentic. We have to get honest and read. Sometimes it's a redefining, almost like a death and a purging and a resurrection. To me, that is the process of ascension. And we're all going through that right now, those of us who are aware.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just actually had this conversation with a girlfriend of mine. She's an intuitive and she's moving some different ways with what she wants to do and the messages that she wants to bring. And so we were both actually talking about that, about re-looking at who we are and what fits with us now that maybe used to fit with us. Doesn't fit it anymore. And you're right, by looking inwards, you see those things, or you see, oh, that's not what I'm in alignment with anymore. And I think we reshift our path and how we navigate through our spiritual journey and life itself to lead us on that road of what we all want, is that ascension into this higher realm. Right,
absolutely. And one of the really big pieces of that, to give us and your audience an example, is, and it's have been huge for me, and it's been huge for people in my community and people in general right now, I believe, is responsibility in our relationships, especially family. We can take on responsibilities that maybe aren't completely ours to hold. To take. Yeah, right. We can identify with that because we love. Here's family. Here's the people we love. We equate that to responsibility. But if we pull back on our enabling or overcaring, especially as empaths, we can really get stuck down in the mud.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. And so, but then we think, well, if we pull back on our responsibility, that might mean that might show them that we don't love them, or maybe I won't be loved in return. So we keep control over that, right? But so, like I said, a big part of this ascension and the hero's journey is to realize that what our responsibility is. How much are we really supposed to take on if we're going to be sovereign beings? See, there's such a dichotomy in that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah.
And what do you think, if you were to give some advice, what do you think is ways that we can be responsible and pull back on those things without altering our relationships? Because I think that's what everybody's fear is that if I pull back on a relationship and you know, put up boundaries or you know, become more authentic with myself, that might impact my relationship and change it in a negative way. How would you say people can get around that?
Be right. That's our fear. That's why we stay in those relationships that we do in the way that we do. And we're not saying at all to not have these relationships or break free from them all, although some are naturally being removed from our lives. You may have noticed, I have noticed that there are some that are leaving my field. So the shift that you're talking about is actually a very quiet internal shift. When again, we take our eyes off the outside world and look inside and say, okay, how much of this is my responsibility when I bleed out emotionally? Sometimes we're so steeped in our loving relationships with other people, it's almost like we're slitting our wrists and bleeding out because we're just.
Yeah. And enabling them to stay the way that they are. You know, enabling them to do their errors. So we have to speak out and say, no, that's not what I want to say to you. I want to tell you exactly how I feel about this moment, right? When that feels really good from the heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like I said, we don't have to end these relationships, but we can do an inner shifting by, again, looking at the word responsibility and saying, what really is happening with me being so overly concerned with these other people? I did it with my own children who are grown now, and I had to stop and say, okay, how old are these kids? You know, they're not teenagers, they're not babies, they're adults. What I had to realize was that by me hovering, or whatever we want to call it, or over caring or wanting to help so much, I wasn't giving them the respect as the souls that they are, as being fully human, fully grown adults. So I had to pull back and honor their soul. See, it was a very small energetic shift on my part that then switched my relationship with them, and I can see more of a, maybe you might want to call, of a freedom within them. They're more relatable. They're honest with me, with themselves. Why? Because I energetically pulled back and gave them the respect that they deserve.
Yeah.
Let them be the people that they really are. And they're learning upon their journey too. By letting them do that, they're allowing them to grow just even bigger and bigger and better. Right? It's true. It's true.
So, absolutely. And then not only are they more free to grow larger within themselves, and because they're going to feel it. But we also do. When we pull back and we stay in our own frequency and our own energy, we start seeing the world in a whole new way. Things, I don't like the word magic, but there is, I mean, because I think it's overused in the New Age circles. There is a shift in our inward life, the landscape of our lives, where we start to see folly in the things we used to believe and think. Now I can look back and see the folly in the way that I was reaching and trying to help or take somebody else's right away from them to make their own decisions, right? It was like, now I see it as so, oh my gosh, it took me so many years to see this. And now I'm free and they're free.
Yeah.
This is a major, major part of that hero's journey that I was talking about, the authenticity, to get honest with ourselves in those very ways.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. And I find that as you do that and you recognize these things, because I think sometimes we're just going through life and we don't recognize these ways that we are relating to other people, whether our kids or people that are close to us.
Right.
And when we shift that, like you said, and take that inner look and say, you know what, this is there to figure out. I can still be there. I can help. I can be an ear. I can wait until they need my help and to shift that
And for them
back.
And for them to ask.
Exactly. Because they don't always need our opinions and our thoughts. And that's a hard thing as a parent or a step parent or somebody, a wife, whatever. When those close relationships, it's hard not to give that. It's harder to step back and say, I'm going to give that to you when you're ready. If you need my advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my thing is too, is I find with people now is when I say, I'm in conversation, sometimes I'll sip the tongue for a second and say, you should, then I'll go, whoa, just a minute, no. It's just something you might want to think about for a minute. You may not like it, but no, that was an error that I said you should. You might want to try this. So even that I find is putting it back on them. Because you're saying to them, you do it if you want. I'm just trying to suggest, right? So do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is very hard because we love. You know, that just because we love doesn't mean to say that we can take control. And it's like a fine line. And that's why I said it's an inside job, because that's where we're going to define that fine line is, do I stay over here and scratch and claw and try to control and embrace somebody else's emotional life? We got our own over here that's supposed to be that sovereign being. There's you want to know one tool to use?
Yes, please.
In that, because I've had to use it myself, and this is from the guidance system. It's one of my proprietary techniques that I do. It's called sitting down inside. So it's just a matter of our consciousness is up here, our hearts, our deep feeling hearts are here, and we got them all intertwined, and we're thinking and we're scheming. But what if we took our consciousness? It's a matter of allowing that consciousness, picture it almost like a balloon in your mind, and allow that balloon to just drop like it's falling from the sky down inside the body. And it comes down through the throat, down through the chest wall. And what we're going to do is watch it land against our spine. Maybe in the middle of the back, the lower back, and just let that balloon just sit there. How does that feel? It takes you out of all of this thinking and enabling and scheming and worrying and over concern, and you're sitting down inside. It's like, and this puts you in the place more of observing.
Yeah, it's an interesting feeling. It's almost like a sense of calm came over me when I was doing it. So yeah, your brain is not going. So I like that. And I think that would be a good tool, when somebody especially is talking to us and we don't want to see people hurt. And so we equate our love with, oh, well, if I fix that, then they're not hurting. That's my, like you said, responsibility.
Yeah.
If we did maybe that while they're speaking to us, we can still be listening, but we can also be sitting down and being able to say, okay, I'm just going to listen. And if they need my help to fix it, that's how I'll do it. And if they don't and just need to talk, that's how I'll do it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the bottom is respecting the other person's journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then I think you're being authentic with yourself and you're allowing them their authenticity because you're allowing them to take control of how they want to navigate their own journey with it.
Mhm. That is so true. That is very true.
And there's one more thing that just came to mind that the guys are saying too is and this goes right along with this whole thing that we're talking about of giving them their own authenticity and us staying in our own power, is should they even come to us, anybody, somebody that we love, a friend, a child, an adult child, they come and ask our opinion, we can give it back to them to empower them.
Mhm.
If they ask something that we definitely would have an opinion about, say, well, what are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that? What have you been thinking? See, we don't even have to have all the answers, which is another part of that freedom that we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
I find myself too sometimes going in a conversation where they're looking for something from me. I'll say, well, I'll tell you how I handle that. And you take it whatever way you think you want to take it from there. But this is my way of performance in my own self to handle this. So when you give it to them like that, they have to sit back and go, what? They're not going to tell me what to do. You know, they're going to give me that back. And what the heck is that? And it's good to stand back, like you said, seated, because then you can see in their eyes how they're actually even doing that moment of what the heck happened there, right? It's fun too. It's fun too.
His choices.
Yes.
The choice is theirs.
Yeah. Right back in their lap, right where it belongs to be.
Right.
So good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, it is, because I think we commune as a collective and we come together and we share our experiences and our energy with each other. But I also think that it's nice to know that we have our own authenticity, that we need to pull back a little bit and go along the journey, but with our own, I don't know, inner soul really being authentic about it. I think we journey along together on a different level and a different energy frequency.
Absolutely. And, we oftentimes see ourselves as a singular being. Well, this is my mind, my thoughts, my beliefs, my heart, my ascension journey, but we forget when what you said kind of opened this idea back up for me, is that we're part of the collective. And when we shift, the collective shifts, right?
Yeah.
So we're not just on this singular path. We're not just doing this for ourselves. Anything that we can improve within ourselves and the freedom that we can give ourselves, we're giving it out to our neighbors, the collective as a whole, the earth, the universe, other planets, right?
Yeah.
So our work here, bottom line, is that it's a lot more, our journey here is a lot more important than we've thought it to be.
Yeah. And I think, for me, it's interesting because when you said about the master, being able to do, the master says that we can do what they do. When we talk about this, that makes me feel that way, that as we shift our energy and we become more authentic with ourselves and we spread that out, like you said, to the collective, we are shifting that as the masters and be really embodying him to be able to put that forth. So that's my connection that I felt with that.
Yeah, very nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a learning journey, right? And I think we empower more people by learning these things to be able to share them, to go down the journey and navigate them in a higher realm, I think, than when we're just living in fear and things like that.
Like even in the Bible says, to thine own self be true. That itself saying, believe in yourself. And if you're true to yourself, then anything's possible. So when you close yourself off, it's not possible anymore, right? So that's been around for a long time, that expression.
Sure. That's exactly, for sure. And that's the journey that we're on. It's like, be to thine own self be true. Well, we have to know ourselves first, right? And that's part of that hero's journey that I was talking about, of going through the files.
Yeah.
Who am I? What do I want to believe? Free and clear of other people's opinions and judgment. And that's a hard rock to jump over. And it's because we're human beings. We want to be loved. We want to have people to love. So we take on, what are the other people going to think?
Yeah.
And if we're truly going to be true to ourselves, to thine own self be true, nobody else's opinion matters in here but our soul, our higher self. How can we live with ourselves? And it's the connection with our own divinity on that inward journey that will lead us and guide us there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's a hard journey inward to do that, and to find that person in our beliefs of what we believe now, because I think that's one thing people don't necessarily realize is, like, when we're young and through each stage of our life, as we're a teenager, get newly married, whatever is going on in our lives, we're constantly shifting what we believe and what is actually true for us now in this moment of time. And it's a lot of work to, like you said, do that and come out as being, this is who authentically I am, and I'm unapologetic about it, because this is who I am. This is what I believe. This is to my deep core.
And it's not to hurt anybody or anything like that. Because I mean, when you're doing that, you're also looking for the betterment of the world. You're looking to give back beauty and everything you have inside of you that's beautiful to the other people. And it's not up to us, though, when we're relating it to them, how they're going to feel about it. Because we're just trying to give them our best all the time, right? Or at least you think you are, right? At least it's what you're trying to do. So that's how you help the others, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And relating to what you both just said, that's why it's called the hero's journey, because what is a hero? It takes courage.
You bet.
It takes courage to do it. But why waste our life not doing that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we'll probably come back and do it again if we don't do it in this lifetime.
There you go.
There's that part too.
Yeah.
And I think journeying is better than standing still, because although standing in my own mind, standing still is still your journey, because that's what you've chosen to do.
Yes.
So as long as you can recognize that's where you're at in your journey, is, my choice is by standing still and not journeying. But I feel like the journey just leads us more, I don't know, it spreads our energy a little bit better out to the other people, and allows us to move forward more collectively.
Gives us our wings, I think, to move about.
Yeah. Well, and when you were talking about standing still, what came to me was the Dead Sea.
Okay.
Because isn't the universe always in motion? I think the life force energy of the universe is creativity. Creativity is always moving, creating, and creating more light, expanding more light. And so that standing still, okay for a while, especially if you're regrouping inside. But when we stand still, we become stagnant also. Right? You think so?
Yeah. That's true. You can't stand there too long. You can't stand in one place too long. And that even goes with age and everything else. It still tells you, keep propelling, keep moving on, extend yourself to the best you can be all the time. And that way you're not wasting a moment while we're here.
Exactly.
Every moment is awesome. It is. And it's for us to keep seeking that into the deepest parts of ourselves, to bring it forward. Because every time we bring that forward, we also extend that to the next person we meet.
See, right.
And so on. right? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give them permission to do the same, like Marianne Williamson said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, honestly, my belief is we live to die. We're born to die. And so I like to say we live to die, because then I think, why are we not living then? Why are we not exploring all these things? Why are we not propelling ourselves forward and being authentic with ourselves if we have such this really short blip in time that we're on this earth? Why are we not taking advantage of that and living the best that we can?
Exactly. Exactly. And part of that is, again, fear of judgment from other people. But what the divine always, Joshua is really good at saying this, especially when I'm in session or teaching. He always says that we are energy, right? And this energy has a certain vibration, and the vibration is part of this one song of the universe. And if we're not singing, allowing our vibration to be expressed, fully expressed, unapologetically, like you said before, then what does that do to the symphony of the universe?
Mhm.
If we're not being who we are, we're each in a unique fingerprint in the expanse of the universe. And if we're missing, the song's going to be off key.
Yeah.
So he's saying to come and take, how the orchestra has chairs, and the first chair is like the prodigy or the number one violinist or whatever.
Yep.
He encourages us to take first chair of our lives, okay, so that the symphony can stay in tune.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's beautiful. I like that.
Mhm.
And I think that's a positive message to people too, right? Is that's we're all aspiring to be that number one position, and we are.
We are. Yeah.
Especially if we put ourselves there.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
the journey.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is beautiful when we allow ourselves to, and I think the more authentic we become, the more we do allow our guides and
Our
masters and things like that to come to us and give us those messages to help us navigate through life.
Well said. Why we have angels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely fly with our angels. And it's time, and I think this is an important message that you're spreading, and I think that's great that you have these teachings that you're doing, because I think it opens more people up to see that we can, embody this authenticity of ourselves.
And see our own power. We feel our own power. To see it and to feel it within ourselves, that radiates to the next person, because they go, wow, they did that so easily. Maybe I could do that too, right? So you're putting the momentum in order and, swaying this way where it should go, right? Well,
And people, yes, thank you for saying that. And we always wonder, what's the meaning of life? Why am I here? Well, maybe it's the hero's journey. Maybe it's learning to be authentic, free and clear of outside influences, free and clear of judgment. And that is also self-love. That's a huge word in ascension as well. And isn't being authentic the perfect feat of ascension and self-love?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people have a hard time
Finding that themselves.
having that self-love, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easy a lot of times to love other people, but like you were saying, we need to go within. So it's easier though to go outside of ourselves and love everybody else, and then just leave our vessel empty. It's not good for us, but it's easier to do, because that is how we have become as humans, right?
Yeah.
Give to others and just leave ourselves. And so I love that the self-love is so important.
And being your own hero, yeah.
And it starts by inside being real.
Sounds.
Giving yourselves the truth. Yeah. So yeah, that's easily said, not so easy to do.
Exactly. So if you were to share one thing with the followers, what is a message that you would leave them with to either, think on or do something, some kind of message for them?
Let's see what the masters are saying. Okay, so be not afraid. Be not afraid. This is Jesus talking because that was his main message, right? The fear is the thing that will keep you locked up in the old. But look to no longer outward, but turn those eyes inward to an expansiveness, to the honesty, to the truth, to the depth of love that really truly resides within your heart, because it's time to stop searching for love in all the wrong places, because this is your mission. This is the hero in here. This is your Messiah, your savior from the outside world and the struggles and judgments of being human.
Right.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Sure, I'd love to. So I have a website, and that website is my name, DebrahGetz.com. My name, Debrah, is Debrah. My last name is Getz, Goetz, DebrahGetz.com. And they probably want to check out our inner sanctuary. It's a private online community where we gather and talk about things like this all the time. We have a private book club within the inner sanctuary. We have group healings. We have, like I said, classes like this. We have seasonal parties. Like we have a party starting. Well, by the time this is broadcast, it's going to be over. But from time to time, we do seasonal parties. Like we're going to be doing a Beat the Holiday Blues Sunday evening get-togethers, celebrations, parties.
Nice. And you do that through Zoom then, or? Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
That's a nice way to bring everybody together, and nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yes, we will. We will do that.
Well, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really enjoy your inspiration and what you've given us today. And please come back and join us again sometime.
I would love to. This was an honor to connect with you and the community, your community, and with the collective, because the more we do things like this, providing good information and some deep wisdom, the more we're going to affect change in the world. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And everybody else, we will see you next week.
You bet you will.